There was a time when every corner of English football was buzzing about a kid. Stepovers, flicks, tricks, and scoring beautiful goals. A player so talented that many believed would become world-class. That boy was Jadon Sancho. Yet today, he's been exiled from his team, went on multiple loans, and his career looked like a masterclass in wasted potential. Sancho's problem was never about talent, it was about everything else. At just 14 years old, Jadon Sancho wasn't just good, he was viral before viral was everything. Scouts, academy reports, YouTube compilations, they all said the same thing. This kid is different. He had swagger, rhythm, and a confidence that felt unfair for his age. So good that Manchester City bumped him to train with the senior players alongside Phil Foden. Even then, Sancho was the standout. By 16, the hype had become impossible to contain. His performances for England's under-17 had scouts watching in admiration. He wasn't just an academy talent, he was highly sought after. There was a sense that England finally had their own street football genius, their own Neymar, a player who could make chaos look like choreography. But that's the thing about hype. Sooner or later, it has to match with reality. And for Sancho, his first reality check came in the form of patience, or the lack of it. In 2017, Pep Guardiola told both Jadon Sancho and Phil Foden to wait their turns at Manchester City. Sancho felt ready and wasn't going to sit around. He wanted the spotlight immediately. So, at 17 years old, he walked away from Man City, from one of the greatest managers in football history, and bet everything on himself. Pep later said Sancho didn't want to accept the challenge of breaking into the first team. That decision, that impatience, was the first crack because it changed everything for him. At first, it looked like a genius move. Sancho joined Borussia Dortmund in 2017.
At the time, I was a bit nervous. Living in a different country, obviously, and the language as well. But I was confident. I believed in myself, and I felt like it was right for me to take the next step. So, yeah.
And immediately exploded. 13 goals, 20 assists in 31 starts, all before turning 18, all while making defenders across Germany look like background extras in his highlight reel. The Bundesliga became his personal playground. Twice, he made the Golden Boy top 3. In 2019, he finished runner-up to Joao Felix, another prodigy who, ironically, also couldn't sustain the hype. Between 2017 and 2020, if you asked anyone who's the most talented teenager in the world was, one name dominated: Jadon Sancho. The hype was real, the talent was undeniable, and yet, somewhere between potential and perfection, something was seriously wrong. Even at Dortmund, where Sancho looked untouchable, the red flags were slowly unveiling. Behind the goals, the assists, and the flair, small habits were quietly forming into big problems. Reports of Sancho being late for training didn't happen just once. It happened on several occasions, showing up only when he wanted. In an interview with The Telegraph, he even admitted, "Sometimes I'm late to training. I have a sleep problem. I need to be more professional." It wasn't just oversleeping. Reports emerged about him missing training after staying up late gaming. His focus was drifting, and when COVID hit, Sancho somehow managed to break lockdown rules twice. The first incident was having a haircut at his home during strict lockdown rules, in which he was fined £10,000 for the breach. A reckless move, but forgivable. The second was a secret birthday party. Sancho attended a gathering to celebrate Chelsea's Tammy Abraham's birthday. The media erupted. Dortmund's officials were furious. Fans started questioning his maturity. Inside the club, things got tense. Manager Lucien Favre and sporting director Michael Zorc publicly criticized his attitude, and after a poor showing against Bayern Munich, Sancho was subbed off after just 36 minutes. Favre's words were ice cold. He said his performance was not good enough. For Sancho, it felt humiliating. He felt unprotected, and slowly the relationship between the player and the club began to sour. The world still saw him as a wonder kid, but Dortmund had a different perspective now. That Sancho was a superstar, struggling to handle the responsibility that came with it. And the story was about to repeat itself in Manchester. The summer of 2021 saw Sancho returning home to England. He signed for Manchester United for £85 million, a move meant to fulfill his destiny of becoming the next great English winger. But from day one, something was wrong. Sancho arrived late to pre-season with an ear infection, barely trained, never caught up to the pace and physicality of the Premier League. The intensity, the pressing, it hit him like a wall. United wanted to play him on the right wing. In fact, that's why they bought him. But Sancho preferred the left. They were already trying to work around Cristiano Ronaldo, who returned with much fanfare. So it didn't help that Rashford and Garnacho were also competing for that left-wing spot. Worse, he was still haunted by his Euro 2020 penalty miss, carrying those mental scars that derailed his confidence. The same authority that made him unstoppable at Dortmund. Every touch felt curious, every decision looked hesitant. He was playing not to mess up, instead of playing to create magic. And just when fans thought things might click, United changed managers again. Under Ralf Rangnick, Sancho wasn't essential. Garnacho and Rashford were ahead of him, and even on occasions, we saw Bruno Fernandes playing wide on the flanks instead. By the time Ten Hag arrived, the patience was already thin. The Dutchman wanted intensity, work rate, pressing, none of which came naturally to Sancho. His performances dropped, his effort in training dipped, and eventually, Ten Hag sent him on an individual training program to the Netherlands. A care measure, they called it, but everyone knew it was his final chance to make a good impression. But that camp didn't do anything to improve his work ethic. Sancho registered 7 goals, 3 assists across 41 games. And once again, the question began, where's the player who tore up the Bundesliga? Then came the breaking point. Arsenal away September 2023. Sancho dropped from the squad. Ten Hag said it was because of poor training performances. Sancho fired back on Twitter, calling his manager a liar, saying he's been made a scapegoat. That one post shredded the fragile bridge between him and the club. He refused to apologize. The club suspended him, and he was left training alone yet again. But even when given a second chance, reports confirmed he was still showing up late, skipping sessions, and looked unfocused. Former teammate Nemanja Matic even name-dropped him later, saying Sancho was always late. It wasn't about talent anymore, it was about trust, and that's what made it so tragic. The same kid who left Manchester City for more freedom now found himself frozen out of football because he couldn't follow structure. In early 2024, Sancho returned to Borussia Dortmund on loan. It felt poetic. The yellow wall welcomed him back with open arms. There were glimpses of the talented kid all knew about. The sharp dribbles, the silky assists, flashes that reminded everyone why he once stood shoulder to shoulder with Mbappe and Haaland. He even helped Dortmund reach the Champions League final. For a moment, it seemed like the magic might return, but consistency never came back. 3 goals, 3 assists in 21 games. Decent numbers, but not at the levels he could reach. The rhythm that once made him unstoppable was gone. He was trying, but the spark has died. Dortmund, as much as they loved him, weren't convinced enough to make the move permanent. When the loan ended, the truth was obvious. The bridges with Manchester United were burned beyond repair. Sancho had no interest in returning, not while Ten Hag is still the manager. United moved on too, so once again, Sancho had to pack his bags and make a move, this time to Chelsea.
Sancho, he's going to have a go here, Jadon Sancho!
Sancho!
His time in London was full of promise. His confidence grew game after game, and you could see it in his touches, the tricks, and the smile on his face. In the Europa Conference League final, he scored a goal that felt like vintage Sancho, straight from his Dortmund glory days. The rebirth of Sancho got fans buzzing at Stamford Bridge. He was in his professional prime, riding a wave of success so exhilarating that he decided to carry his intoxicating high home with him. Feeling the limitless confidence of a victor, Sancho started making choices that were reckless. His attitude in training, his focus, his professionalism, it was deja vu. Different badge, same problems. Then came the off-pitch drama. Sancho's name flooded headlines, but this time not for football. Reports emerged about his relationship with the American rapper Saweetie, and a messy fallout with her former manager Maybach May, who accused both of them of owing her money. Screenshots, Instagram stories, wild claims, the chaos followed him like a shadow. She called Sancho a client, accused him of skipping payments, and even said Saweetie told him not to pay her. The whole thing spiraled online, May throwing jabs, Sancho staying silent, tabloids eating it all up. It was the last thing he needed, because at a time when he should be rebuilding his career, he was once again trapped in a storm of distractions that had nothing to do with football. Chelsea were still willing to retain him despite all that, but Sancho thought he deserved more than they were offering. And so, for the third time in 5 years, Jadon Sancho was packing his bags again, this time to Aston Villa, a loan deal, a new chance, and maybe his last. Unai Emery promised to help him rediscover his rhythm, to get him back into England's World Cup plans, to restore what was lost. But so far, the same story continues. Barely any fruitful minutes played for Aston Villa. People even forgot he signed for the club. Only 3 starts till date, but Sancho went through an ordeal no player wants to face. In a match against Man City, he replaced injured Buendia in the first half, only to be taken off midway through the second half. A week later, he only featured 19 minutes in a 4-0 defeat to Bournemouth. The next day was brutal because multiple reports of his situation were to surface. Manchester United and Amorim have now decided that his time is up. His contract ends in 2026 and he will be packing his bags once again.
You know, if you want to win things, you have to learn how to win in training and in matches, so it's important.
Because at the rate he's going, Aston Villa can't wait for him to leave. Which means the bittersweet story of a breathtaking talent, a kid who had the world under his feet but couldn't keep his head in the game, will have another episode. And fans of Sancho will be hoping that any chapter of his comeback will be a good story to tell.